Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto nerds of all ages, you know who I am. My name is Monty, and I am your crypto nerd. And today, we've got Tiffany E. Dixon. She is the Director of Marketing Communications for Vendible Labs. We're going to talk just a little bit about education. We're going to talk about DeFi. We're going to talk about real estate, blockchain. We've got something on deck here for you that you're going to want to pay attention to. So let's get to it. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. So, Tiffany, Director of Marketing Communications, Vendible. You've got a lot on your plate, huh?
I didn't hear that. I just heard my name. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, am I breaking up? That's all right. You've got a lot on your plate as Director of Marketing and Communications, huh?
I would say I have a lot of exciting things on my plate as Director of Marketing and Communications for Vendible.
Excellent. So talk to us just a little bit about Vendible's mission, how you plan on getting the word out about DeFi. I think it's probably one of your strongest mission statements is really sort of educating and then creating the markets for the DeFi ecosystem. And I love that you're tying in algorand too.
Yes, absolutely. Well, everyone knows that we are built on algorand, and that was very intentional. You know, with algorand being the only green blockchain, and with Vendible's guiding principles being so closely connected to not only the community, but also the environment where our community lives, it just makes so much sense that we build on and build a relationship, like a lasting relationship with the blockchain like algorand. Because we have our visions are aligned in what we can do for our community. Now, you mentioned that you mentioned DeFi and Vendible. So our tagline is accessible DeFi for everyone, you know, and where the company as a whole is looking to remove complexities and sometimes even mental complexities that get in the way of people actually going on and just giving DeFi and Web3 and the whole metaverse a try, right? My goal from a marketing and communication standpoint is to support the company's goal and our messaging and across our social media platforms by creating a space that I feel users feel safe to come learn information in a way where they can actually use it. I'm sure we're all familiar with reading, a term or even a page in a book and just standing back and being like, what did I just read? And what is that? And not being able to use it in your own world, in your own language. So two things. We've launched what we call hashtag Cryptoglossary. I have a little picture, not a picture, a printout of it. And right now it's very, I always get disappointed with my cameras. It's very just flat because I want people to focus on the term. So the goal here is, for example, this first one that I'm looking at right now is Web3. We use Web3 a lot, and you and I in this space, we get it. We know what it means, but think about it. Trying to explain this to your family and you try what you do for a living. How difficult is it?
Yeah, they're going to say Web3. I thought there was just one web. What's going on?
Right. What's the difference? Or they're like, where is the metaverse? Like, what do I do? So with this Cryptoglossary, my goal was to fully understand it. And I even, asked one of my developers, because there was one term that I was just like not getting because I didn't come from a hardcore tech background before assuming this role. Right. And I said, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
That's what I need.
Just put it in simple terms, because sometimes people who are experts use expert terminology. And that's the exact opposite of what I'm looking to do with Cryptoglossary. I'm just looking to use simple language so that way when people read it, it not only makes sense, but they feel confident and secure enough to actually use these terms in their own, conversations.
So you've got the glossary coming out.
So that's the first thing that I'm doing.
And you've got Twitter Spaces coming out as well?
2 times a week.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, we do. We also have recently launched Twitter Spaces. We had our first Twitter Spaces, I think just like 3 weeks ago. Actually, it was on Mother's Day. Yeah, I remember that
Okay.
for a fact. It was on Mother's Day. And our next one is going to be on June 2nd, featuring speakers from both Woodstock and Goracle. And
Hmm.
our goal there is to share with our community. Let me back up. So, you know how when you read a press release about, oh, this company has invested in this company, and these two companies have now partnered.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I feel like that's where the conversation ends. And as a user, we never really know, well, okay, you partnered, but what does that look like? Okay, well, you invested in this company, but what does that relationship look like? And what does that mean to me as a part of your community? So on Thursday, June 2nd, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on
Nice
Twitter
plug. Okay.
Spaces, we're going live. We're going marketing, we're going live with my CEO. Also, my COO, Gwen, will be there. And we have a representative from Woodstock and two representatives from Goracle. From the Woodstock standpoint, we're going to cover something very simple that I feel is often neglected. Why did you invest in this company? What is it that you see? What
Mm-hmm.
makes you want to invest in a company? And I think that's good for our users who are just looking to, use our platform, but it's also great for members of our community that are looking to be builders and to start something, people who may not know how to get into that world and how to structure their business in a way that it is attractive to
Mm-hmm.
to invest. And also, where we have representatives from Goracle who will be there. And with that, again, going back to the press release phase where things are released and you're like, okay, well, now they've partnered. But what is that relationship going to look like? And also for us, we want to make sure that as we build our community, that we are intentionally nurturing relationships that matter to us. So we're going live, like I said, on Twitter Spaces. The next one is June 2nd to dig a little bit deeper into these business relationships.
I like it. Goracle is everywhere recently, and they're one of those companies that works behind the scenes with just about everybody. It's just the nature of their business, so it's nice to see them meeting with folks from Vendible and Woodstock and getting out there. And I enjoy your outreach as well, and I think that makes the difference when a company wants to educate. Your tagline, DeFi accessibility for all. Really, like you want to open the doors. And let me ask you, what is the biggest barrier to entry? If you're on Twitter Spaces, you're likely to get people like me who are already in that universe. How do we attract people who are outside of that crypto sphere? How do we get the layperson that needs to hear the layperson terminology on your glossary? How do we find them and attract those users?
Mhm. Great question, because that's a big part of my role, right? Like, how do we break down that barrier? And I think it's something that we've already touched upon, meeting them where they are, and first of all, understanding that a lot of people do not understand what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't speak over them. We've got to bring it down. And like I said, when I spoke to one of my developers and I said, explain it to me like I'm five, I think we all need to kind of be in that mind frame of just simplifying things, which is hard to do when you're an expert or a professional in a certain space. But I would say the biggest barrier for someone who's not already in crypto is the mentality of it and the emotions of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so odd because like we're in technology, right? But that
Yeah.
I try to focus on the emotions of people, because a lot of it is anxiety based. People may want to get into Web3. People may want to get a wallet, but they're like, oh no, I can't do that. I've even had off the record, even though this is live, I've had
Right.
a person say to me, I'm not smart enough to get a wallet, a digital wallet. I'm like,
Yeah, it's not that you're not smart enough. You just nobody showed you how, or you didn't follow the easy rules there.
right. So, oh, sorry, my lights just went off. Hold on. I'm in my conference
Oh,
room and
Motion detector.
I'm back. If you're not,
There you go.
yeah.
We can
Usually,
we can edit
but I
that
won't.
part out.
Or not. It's fine. But you know what? Or maybe we don't edit it out and we use that as another layer or way to show would-be users everything doesn't need to be perfect.
That's
We
true.
are not perfect. You know what I mean? That even if an accident happens, like your lights going off, or you don't actually know how to access Web3, or once you get there, you're like, well, what do I type in? That is okay. You just have to
Hmm.
keep going. So I would say three things. The biggest barrier is personal fear
Hmm.
of one's own competency. And what we are doing with that is, again, creating not only the platform and the tools, but also a space where people feel safe and secure with their assets as well as with their level of knowledge.
Excellent. So, getting people comfortable with it and giving them some tools and awareness, really. I'm wondering, how far are we away from awareness not being an issue because it's just there? That's to me, like, that's what mass adoption looks like. It's, hey, I went to go buy a car and they gave me these two traditional finance options and this one DeFi option. And they don't even realize that the DeFi option was on chain and they had to jump through a few extra hoops. How far away are we from something like that happening? Some major partnerships for cars, for houses, for even for major physical assets in everyday life.
I think some people are there. You
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like a marathon. You know what I mean? Like some people are closer to the actual finish line, like almost touching it, putting their nose on it, and then you have some people in the back. The people that I tend to focus on. Not so in the back and in the middle. The people who are already buying things and have NFT art collections. They don't like they're good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
and gamers. Even children. My son plays I get it
Hmm.
Roblox, not Robux, because like
Roblox.
there
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mine too.
buy Robux inside of Roblox.
Right.
But children are already, they are already there. They
They're
already understand.
digitally native already. Yeah.
Exactly. They have whole worlds going on and they have their own currency and they're buying things and they're already there. So I would say the answer to that is it's happening in tiers.
Hmm.
Some of us are already there. Like people are starting to ask others, well, how many hours in a day do you spend in the metaverse?
Yeah.
Then you have other people who are like, what is it and where is it? So
Hmm.
it just depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, there's definitely different levels to that, I'm sure, and maybe it's not going to happen overnight. Our children, in 10 years, they're going to feel very comfortable in that world. But 2 years from now, are my parents going to feel comfortable in that world? I don't think so. I think there's always going to be that level of uncomfort for them. And really, it's up to the person. Like, how adventurous are they? And they might need somebody else to kind of handhold them and walk them through, or to just make it simpler to access it so that it's invisible to them. And I think that might be the key to getting them.
I would say within the next 2 to 5 years, we'll probably see, no, not probably, we will see a huge difference in Gen Z.
Mm.
They will start using it. Generation Alpha, they are already there. Generation Alpha is the generation after Gen Z. They're
I
pretty
was gonna
much
say, I don't
already
even
there.
know
They
which
just
one
not.
is alpha. I lost track. I'm Gen X, so I just everything past Gen Z is like that's just.
So I'm familiar with Generation Alpha because I have a 6-year-old son, and that's their generation, and I'm connected to it, and they are just so digitally savvy already. They're already there.
Mhm.
When they meet at like yesterday, we went to Sky Zone,
Yeah.
and parents like get your children involved in like physical activity. Yeah, I did that, but you know what? He and his little friend were talking about, what's your Roblox name? Like, where's your community in Roblox? Like, are you the
Yeah.
mayor in your thing? So I'm like, even though they're here, they're planning a whole different way to interact with each other later. So I would say, honestly, 2 years from now, if parents of generation are
Hmm.
against, gaming and things like that, like I walk around with my gaming
Yeah.
headphones, they are going to do themselves a disservice in the relationship that they have with their children, because there's no getting Gen Alpha out of it. They are already in the metaverse. Now, Gen Z, I would say within the next 2 years, we probably will see between 65 and I would say 75% of digital assets and wallet holders, and a
Hmm.
huge surge and bump in the NFT place. Millennials and Gen X.
Hmm.
I think it's going to take a little bit more time for Gen X to be honest, but within 5 to 10 years, that's when I truly think that all of us will be fully there. Also, you know, sorry to say this to you, but Gen X, do you remember what boomers were going through when Facebook was first introduced? That's you
Oh
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
You,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Oh, social media, you guys are playing. It's not
Hmm.
going to be anything. Oh, these kids. And then, you can't get away from it now. So usually whenever someone is kind of negative, or they don't really understand, or they don't think that it's going to be as explosive as I know it will be, I just remind them, remember what everyone thought about Facebook and social media and how we all thought it was a game.
Yep. 20 years later or so. All right. So, what's the next big thing for Vendible? Like over the next 5 years, what's the DeFi play for Vendible? And is it DeFi itself, or is it sort of the tertiary aspects? It's the, if you're going to interact with Web3, we need some way to solidly identify who you are and verify your information and keep it safe. We also have all these other like aspects that are requirements for this DeFi world to kind of evolve and grow. What's Vendible's role there?
What's Vindible's world and how the DeFi world is going to evolve and grow? Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yes.
It goes back to removing complexities. For me and my role, it's removing those emotional complexities and educating people. And on the hardcore business end of it, it's creating these platforms and features that are simple and easy
Hmm.
for people to use, but also safe. Like you said, people are really really nervous about putting their information out there and where is it going to go. So that's something that we offer for them. Data protection. Like we don't even have keep access to your private information. We do keep your selfie so that every time you need to log in, we know it's you. But I would
Yeah.
say that's our role in this, to simplify things while also keeping them very safe. And that's for identity and digital assets.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to speculate here for just a minute. How far away are we from me logging into a website where I can just buy a house and the DeFi options are just there? How long before I get a DeFi mortgage?
And DeFi mortgage, how
Yeah.
long? Hmm. Honestly, for you and your level of expertise in this world, probably a year or two.
Yeah.
But
A
that's
couple
for
years.
you. Yeah, but that's a year or two is like nothing. That's 52 weeks. But
Right.
also, what I want to say is that's for someone like you, crypto nerd, right?
Right.
The average person or a new user, I would say more on the 5 years side,
Okay.
because they've got a lot of layers to go through. They don't even know what a digital wallet is. They've got to figure that out. So it's layers and it's tiers to that.
I feel like there's a lot of pushback from traditional finance folks, and I feel like they should embrace it, and they should say, okay, this is coming, we should figure this out now. But it might be like that boomer mentality where they said, this Facebook thing, this is never gonna go, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call somebody and just stop by their house. I don't need this Facebook thing. Or I'm gonna send them a letter in the mail. Right, we have the post office for a reason. But I feel like banks at this point in time are that role. They've got their head in the sand, and a lot of them are saying, okay, well, this is never going to take off. we need this traditional finance. You need us to do all of these things. And there's a lot of pushback there that, their way is the best way because it's traditional. Do you find that at all when explaining to people what you do? And, how do you tackle that head on? Or do you just avoid those
I have a
people in your
very,
class?
very no, because you can't avoid them, right? And also, why should we? I have a funny example about that. I was recently traveling and I checked into my hotel and I asked them, like, I need a conference room. And they're
Mhm.
like, oh, well, the NAA, NC, some basketball, huge basketball tournament was going on. I can't even, I'm like, I don't even remember the name of it.
Right.
And I looked at them and I said, ETH Denver is also happening right now. And that's a
Mm.
very big deal as well. And I think for us, it's about standing strong, and letting people know that like what we're doing is huge and it's very
Hmm.
important. And I remember just turning my laptop around and I'm like, look at this. Look at this conference.
Yeah.
And
We're
they're
kind of a
just
big
like,
deal.
we we didn't even know that people think cryptocurrency is just, first of all, people think when they hear Web3 and metaverse, they only think of cryptocurrency. That's the
Hmm.
first problem.
Yeah.
They're not really understanding that it's literally a whole new world, in my opinion. So to directly answer your question, whenever I have pushback, I just stand strong in what I know, and not what someone who's outside of this industry thinks they know.
Hmm. Yeah,
To put
I
it
think it's
simply.
it's just raising that level of awareness and educating one person at a time. That concierge or front desk person or whoever it was keenly aware then that there's ETH Denver going on, and that's one of our largest events. Um,
Yeah, because people know Ethereum, right? Like they know
mhm.
that, but they don't, and they know Bitcoin, but they've never heard of Bitcoin Miami.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a whole big world. And I think every time we encounter pushback, it's important for us as the experts and professionals to remain aware of the fact that people don't even understand that folks have full-time careers here.
Hmm.
Usually when I tell people I work in Web3 or the metaverse, they think I'm talking about like investing,
Hmm.
with my wallet. I'm like, no, it's my job.
Yeah. There's a whole other set of requirements that go along with any business to solve lots of real world problems. So
Exactly.
do you end up going to a lot of the conferences and events?
Virtually, yes, I
Ah,
do. I am going to be attending my first live in-person event next month, actually.
okay, got it. So next month we've got we've got Consensus, we've got NYC NFTs. One of those you'll be. Yep. So we've got a lot of those. Have you
Yes, I will
seen?
be at.
Good. All right, that's a big one. And it seems like most of these are growing in head counts significantly year over year. Do you find that a lot of other folks are saying the same thing and seeing growth in just the attendance for these events, despite COVID? Whether or not it's virtually or there's just a lot of talk about it.
I mean, for one, it's refreshing, right? Like you go to these events and they are massive. It's also very interesting. I know I keep harping on this. It's so interesting to me to attend, whether it be virtually or in person, these events. You see all these people there, but then in your everyday life, when you're walking around, people are so unaware of this whole other world and this booming industry. And to your point, I think, when you look at the attendance rate and the attendance volume of these
Hmm.
events, it's undeniable. I remember when I first came into the world, the first week, I don't remember what event was happening, but it was a major event happening, and I'm coming in and I'm new, and I in that
You're
moment I
learning.
realized this is
Yeah.
big. This is bigger than what I thought. Like this is a whole underground movement that is about to explode. So
Hmm. I think you said it right there. It is a whole movement that is about to explode. All right. Well, Tiffany, you've been a pleasure to speak with today. I'm so glad you stopped by and had a conversation with me, enlightened us in some of Vendible's efforts to accelerate the adoption of DeFi and bring that accessibility to everyone. It's a strong mission statement. It's a tough job. I envy you that you've got a lot of ground to make up, and it sounds like you've got a lot of fun doing it though. So I'm looking forward to maybe having you on the channel again sometime in the near future, or maybe we'll run into each other at one of these conferences.
Yeah, both are okay with me.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Make sure to stay tuned for all of our great videos coming up this week. As always, I am your crypto nerd.